This evening on CTV News, see what national collegiate competition happened over the weekend here at CSU. Plus, get an inside look at the hydrology conference that's going on at CSU today and tomorrow. And see who's running for the ASCSU presidential election. All this coming up tonight on CTV News. Good evening, everyone. I'm Connoly.
And I'm Karsen Bushjost. Welcome back from spring break, Rams, and thanks for joining us tonight. It's not every day that you see students propelling from trees on your campus. Check out the unique event that happened at CSU over the weekend.
Despite the cold weather, students from all over the country came to CSU last weekend to compete in the Olympics of Landscaping, also known as the National Collegiate Landscape Competition.
We've got schools from like 65 different schools, about 800 students. We're out here doing all sorts of different competitions. These guys are building a bench. Later on this afternoon, I'm in plant installation. So I've got a 12 by 12 plot. I've got to put in 6 bushes, some trees, some sod.
We're the platinum sponsor of Student Career Days, and specifically we run the wood construction event. For anyone who's got outdoor living spaces, patios, pergolas, anything along those lines, they know that building these wood structures is really important. So it's an element of the landscape industry. So we have about 30 teams here. They've already gone through a written qualification exam, and this is the practical. They have to read the plans, they have to translate the plans into the construction, and the tricky part is it's very exact. They've only been given enough wood to make the actual bench exactly. If they make one mistake in the way they cut, they're out.
Students competed in events and attended workshops that are directly related to the skills they will need to succeed in the industry.
What I just did now is tree climbing. You harness in and you pull up on the rope, then you lanyard in using one of your ropes on your harness, and then you just ding the bell and keep going on to the next bell.
Demand is at an all-time high for horticulturists and landscape designers, and this competition prepares students for the industry. I'm Stephanie Walters, reporting for CTV News.
For more information on the National Collegiate Landscape Competition, please visit studentcareerdays.org or call Planet Office at 800-395-2522.
According to the 2013 Gallup rankings, Fort Collins and the Loveland area placed third, right behind our Boulder neighbors and best-ranked cities for well-being. The survey, which is in its 6th year, administered 500,000 interviews, asking people about things such as their emotion and physical health, job satisfaction, community safety, shelter, and health care. Colorado State University online education graduate programs are one of the nation's leading programs according to U.S. News and World Report's 2014 Best Graduate Schools edition. Out of nearly 1,000 programs surveyed and scored in the categories of student engagement, student services and technology, faculty credentials and training, admission selectivity, and peer reputation, CSU's online graduate degree programs have achieved a top 100 ranking, landing at number 75.
CSU is celebrating the 34th Annual American Geophysical Union Hydrology Days. Starting yesterday, there's been a collaboration of students, faculty, and professionals lecturing about floods. It concludes tomorrow.
Today is the second day of hydrology days. We just finished the morning session and covered a lot of the 2013 flood events. This morning's discussions were a combination of why the floods happened, from meteorology into the actual hydrology and the flood response, comparisons between snowmelt and rain-driven events, and even bringing it to culmination of the influences of how it's affecting people, causes, risks, and costs associated to flood events.
If you are interested in attending this conference, go to the LSU's Cherokee Park room located next to Aspen Grill tomorrow from 8 to 6. Coming up after the break, we'll have the latest in what the weather will be like this week and sports.
And I'll be back to tell you just how warm Fort Collins is expected to be this week.
And I have the exciting news about March Madness and some good old sibling rivalry.
Stay tuned, everyone. You won't want to miss it.
Take my hand and start a brand new day. And together as one will start to see some change.
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people, connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it. Nope.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
I'm Kelsey McAllister with your Tuesday weather forecast. Now, temperatures are pretty nice as we've seen the past couple of days. Taking a look currently outside, we're hovering right about 48 degrees. The wind chill is just a couple degrees cooler due to that light wind, so it's still relatively nice. Now, taking a look at today's highs, we saw very nice temperatures. This cold front did move out. We saw 61 in Denver, 56 in Fort Collins, 57 in Colorado Springs. Pueblo, you were sitting right at about 60 degrees this afternoon. Taking a look at the Eastern Plains, temperatures were very warm, 57 in Lyman and 63 degrees in Lamar. Now, for tonight, we are going to cool down, but it's pretty average for us this time of year. We're going to be hovering right around that freezing point here in Fort Collins, 38 in Denver and 36 in Colorado Springs. The high country is going to be a little bit cooler, temperatures in those 20s. Grand Junction is just going to be slightly warmer. For tomorrow, we will see pretty nice temperatures. We're going to be much warmer than we saw today. 66 degrees here in Fort Collins. Now, the average for this time of year is in those mid-50s, so it's still very warm. 72 in Denver and 68 in Colorado Springs. The high country, if you're headed up there, it's going to be in those 40s. Eastern Plains, we're going to be close to 80 degrees in Lamar tomorrow. Now, let's take a look at the 7-day forecast. This is amazing for this next week. 20% chance of some rain-snow mix. As things cool down, we'll have a small cold front. This will most likely be rain. If there is any snow, it will melt off due to that rain. And as we move into the rest of the week, we're going to see temperatures warm up quite a bit from that cold front that moves through. Mid-60s, upper 60s by the weekend. We'll cool down slightly, Caitlin, by Monday. Overall, it's going to be a very nice week. We're going to see lots of sunshine, very appropriate after the week after spring break. Caitlin?
Thanks, Kelsey. We now have Elizabeth Perossi here for the latest in sports.
Hey, Elizabeth. I'm so bummed both our basketball teams lost in the Mountain West tournament.
You know what, Karsen? I am too, but I'm hoping that they can turn it around and use it as motivation and do even better next year. Welcome back, Rams. While you're either watching Netflix or sitting at the beach over spring break, this crazy thing called March Madness began, and it is called Madness for a reason. In Las Vegas, the CSU men's basketball team took on Utah State only to blow their lead in the final minutes of the game and lose 73-69. The women made the National Invitation Tournament, which is one step below the NCAA tournament, for the first time since 2004. Unfortunately, though, they lost their opening game to Southern Utah. But that's old news. While the CSU men's basketball team failed to make the NCAA tournament this year, fellow Mountain West team San Diego State will face the #1 seeded Arizona Wildcats Thursday to play for a spot in the Elite Eight. But it would not be complete madness without a little sibling rivalry. Arizona coach Sean Miller has led the Wildcats to the Sweet 16 for the third time in 4 years, while his younger brother Archie led Dayton to the Sweet 16 for the first time in 30 years. This marks the first time that brothers have coached different teams in the same Sweet 16. And there are lots of Cinderella stories and busted brackets this year. Stanford beat Kansas to make it to the Sweet 16 to play Dayton, the same team that upset Ohio State in the first round of the tournament. Another game to look out for is in the Midwest region as Michigan takes on Tennessee. The Volunteers' defense has been spectacular lately, but the Wolverines' offense is clicking as well. And in the East, Michigan State will take on top seed of Virginia. There are 3 #1 seeds left, but plenty more great basketball is ahead of us. Thursday, the madness continues as we watch these 16 teams fight for a spot in the Elite Eight.
So I know everyone's bracket's really messed up due to all the upsets, but who do you think's going to win the entire thing?
You know what? I have Florida going all the way.
Go Gators?
Go Gators, just because they have looked strong all season long, but actually Arizona in this NCAA tournament, they have played very well. So they could be a contender as well. But part of me just wants to root for San Diego State because they are a fellow Mountain West team. What about y'all?
Well, I took Florida in my bracket, so I think they're going to win it. I think also need to watch out for Virginia. They have a solid defense. They play Michigan State, so I think the winner of that will for sure go to the Final Four. But I'm interested to see it. You know, Dayton's a Cinderella team. I think they got some magic behind them, so we'll see when they play Stanford what happens.
You know, that's really exciting. Archie has done a great job with this team. We've got number 11 seeded Dayton playing number 10 seeded Stanford. You know, Stanford beat Kansas, which was a number 2 ranked team. That's impressive.
It is. Well, we will see. Coming up after the break, we take an inside look at what 5 student ambassadors did on a trip halfway across the world.
Plus, see who's campaigning for the upcoming ASCSU election.
Don't go away, Rams. We'll be right back.
The great outside. My new mom and I have a lot in common.
So shiny.
We both love the outdoors.
That's not a flower.
And she knows a lot about wildlife.
A labradoodle.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. Go to discovertheforest.org.
5 CSU student ambassadors made a trip to Fukushima, Japan earlier this year to do some studying on the devastation that hit 3 years ago. Earlier today in the Molecular Sciences building, CSU student ambassadors gave a presentation on Fukushima, an area in Japan that was devastated by an earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear accident on March 11, 2011. 5 ambassadors from CSU traveled to Fukushima earlier this year for 10 days. Their study included going to the disaster sites and testing radiation levels. Nicole Martinez, a doctoral candidate who traveled to Fukushima, describes her reaction when she first saw the disaster area.
There's the radiological hazard and the psychological impact of you're displaced from your home and you might never be able to go back. And so that's when I really realized that it's real. It's 9/11, it's Katrina, it's all those things combined.
The first place we went to was Namitown.
The ambassadors emphasized in the presentation how the rest of the world misperceives Japan now, in particular Fukushima. Many believe it's still unlivable there, although the majority of the area has the same radiation levels as the U.S. They also discussed how strong the Japanese people have been throughout the process.
All this devastation compounded with the perceived lack of aid and misconceptions surrounding the radiation hazard, and their ability to still find joy, find new livelihoods, just sort of pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Japan is still working on cleaning up some of the radiation, and more volunteers are needed to help.
The ASCSU presidential election is underway again. Campaigning began yesterday and will continue throughout the week and into next week. Green Campaign, Badisha Campaign, Corona Campaign, and Gwynn Campaign have different platforms they plan to focus on if they win the election. Voting will begin on April 7th, and the election results will be announced on April 9th. Well, that's all the time that we have for tonight. Make sure to watch us, or be sure to find us on Facebook and on Twitter at the Collegian C.
And remember, CTV will have continual coverage of the ASCSU election the next 2 weeks. So be sure to watch our shows live and on thecollegian.com for campaign updates. Have a wonderful night, everyone.